Hi Nishant, just let me know if you can hear me. Hello Chirag, am I audible to both of you? Great, thank you. Hello Arpit, hi Prachi. Just giving it a few minutes. Supposed to start at 7:30, so we'll just wait till 7:30. Hello Sanjeev. Hello Akshay. Hi Pratik. All right, so welcome to all of you. I've already mentioned you by name. This is today's session is about manifestation and how it can change your life. So it's a rather huge topic to cover in just 20 minutes. And this topic was born about from the last session that I did, which was about how to wire your mind for a positive mindset. I don't know if any of you attended that session, but there was one of the participants who asked for this particular topic to be taken up. I don't really remember the name, but that's how this topic was born. And so when you talk about manifestation and the first thing I'd like to say to you is that manifestation as such is born out of the laws or born out of the concept of the laws of attraction or law of attraction. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this particular concept of the law of attraction. It's been around for centuries together. And yes, basically what it means is that you get back what you put out in life. So you put out good in life, you get back good, and you put out bad in life and you get back bad. Now, there are many doubters of this particular theory, and a lot of people feel that LOA or manifestation doesn't work. So, what I'd like to say is that it depends on, yes, Pratik, it depends on your particular approach. And one thing you need to understand or you need to keep in mind is that your thoughts, your actions, your beliefs, all of these have an immense power to shape your destiny and your life. And it is not to say that some people sort of treat this topic very frivolously. And they say, oh, if you think of money, money will come into your hand. That's not what LOA works on, or that's not what it means, or that's not what manifestation works on or means. Basically, what we're talking about here is when you create the right kind of atmosphere around yourself and you have the right attitude, then what happens is, because of the fact that you're creating that atmosphere, it becomes a little easier for you to channelize yourself in a direction whereby you might allow certain things that you've been wanting to happen in your life to happen to you or for you. So that's how this works. And you can look up any person worth their salt in society, whether they are from India or from abroad, in the western part of society, the mythical eastern part of society. Everybody who's worth their salt works on this principle, believes. To name a few, whether you want to talk about Oprah Winfrey, you want to talk about our own Sadhguru, anybody who's sort of a famous person or a celebrity or a personality, or something like somebody who talks, or somebody who's into this kind of a field, they all work on this particular principle, that the more you supposition, the more you manifest your thoughts and your beliefs, the more you create an environment around you, the easier it becomes for you to work in a way whereby achieving your goals and your dreams is not just something that remains a dream, or just only remains one of those vision boards which you put up on the wall and never look at it, but it becomes a vision board which you actually visualize, and you actually believe, and you imbibe, and you feel. And then what happens is, when you start to imbibe and feel and believe, you take the steps and the actions that are necessary for you to achieve those things. So 2 points to clarify in the opening section of this short session is that, one, it's not about just thinking something and then waiting for it to happen. It's about thinking about something, manifesting it in your thought process, and then taking action. It's not just sitting back in your chair and saying, okay, I thought a positive thought, and it's all good, and uh, it's all kosher and everything's going to come to me. No, it's about thinking and doing. So manifestation is not just a psychological process, it is a physical process as well. The psychological part is when you think and start to believe, and the physical process is when you act, right? So therefore, what are a few steps that one can sort of take a look at and think about in terms of manifestation? So one of the most important steps in this process is that you determine your goals. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that they don't know what their goals are, or they don't have goals in life. And I find that a little strange. I won't say funny, because everybody has their own way of doing things. But personally, I have always found for myself that having a goal allows you to be able to work in a particular direction. And that's all the goal does. It's channelizing you in a way whereby you start working towards what you want to achieve. Yes, exactly, Chirag. So that's the whole point. That's what I exactly said, that if you're just going to think and you're just going to manifest it in your mind and then sit back and expect it to happen, it will disappear. So I just made that statement that manifestation is both a psychological and a physical process. The psychological part is thinking the thought, or creating the thought, or planting the seed, as it were. And the physical part is then taking action on that. If you're not going to take action on that, then anything would disappear. It's like when you go to school, you study a lot of topics that, of course, you never really use in practical life, but you also forget about them because you don't practice them after that. I mean, how many of us at the age of 50 will remember certain fundamental principles of geometry or trigonometry? We may not, because we don't use it in everyday life. But a person who uses it in everyday life will remember it till the day he or she dies. So this is the same thing, that if you're manifesting a thought or a belief and you want it to stick with you, the second part of the process is that you start taking action. So Therefore, determining your goals is very important. And 2 points in that is that one is, what is something that you always wanted to have or to achieve? And the second thing is, what is it that you want the most now? There's this famous story about a rich king, or rather a king, anyways, kings would be anyways rich, but a very famous king who wanted to know the answer to three questions. And the questions are: who's the most important person in my life, what is the most important time in my life, and what is the most important thing I should be doing in my life. And to cut the long story short, he couldn't get the answer to his questions, and then somebody suggested he visit a hermit inside a forest. And when he went there, what happened was, on the way, his brother tried to attack him and kill him. His bodyguard protected him and killed his brother. So when he reached the hermit, he asked him the same question, and the hermit said, "You've already got the answer to your questions. The most important person in your life is your bodyguard, because he's the one who saved you. The most important thing you should be doing in your life is coming to see me, because you got the answer to your questions. And the most important time in your life is now, because it's now that you know what happened around you, and that's how you got the answer to the other two questions." So it's the same thing in determining your goals. One part is something that you've always wanted, and the second part is, what is it that you want most now? So the first step towards this process of manifestation and creating the right conducive environment for you to go out there and achieve all that you want to achieve is to determine your goals. And if you haven't done that, then it's high time that you start doing that, because if you don't do that, then the entire discussion or the rest of the process, the point is moot, because it won't work forward. So it's not good to say that I don't have any goals, or I don't know what my goals are, and I still want to have manifestation work for me. It won't. So that's the first step. The second step is that you need to articulate what you want and how you're going to get it. So one is determining the goal. The second step is to articulate what you want within that, and how are you going to go about doing it. So for example, if I say that my goal is to become the prime minister of the country in the next 20 years, then what I want is to create a formula so that in the next 20 years I reach that stated goal of mine. And the how I go about doing it is the plan that I set in motion. So obviously I then go and join either a youth wing, or whatever wing that is relevant in a political party, and then I think about what I can do from there. How do I work, and how do I work myself up the ladder so that I'm in a position where I can lead that party? How do I win a couple of elections and position myself as a leader who's dynamic enough? And if you see some of the past and present politicians in our country or overseas, that's exactly how they have worked. So they've also thought about this manifestation, and they've manifested that in their life, and allowed then the things to come to them by taking action. Of course, you cannot focus on the big picture unless you have the little things in place. Goals are always short term, medium term, and long term. So that was going to be the next thing which I was going to say. So the step 3 would be, is that you need to create an action plan. See, to achieve every big goal, you need to achieve a medium term goal. To achieve every medium term goal, you need to achieve a smaller goal. So all of these steps, this thinking, this process, be it psychological, be it physical, this is all linked. Nothing is happening in isolation. I don't know if any of you have heard about a theory called the chaos theory. Can anybody send me a message on the chat? Have you heard about this called the chaos theory? CHAOS, the chaos theory. Yeah, so the chaos theory was a theory developed by a person called Edward Lorenz. And what he said is that the chaos theory is something that tells you that when actually things seem to be happening in a disorderly manner, they are actually happening in an orderly manner. So if you look at society and you feel things are going wrong, if you look deeper, you might find, or you might feel, I'm not saying you will or it's a must, but you might feel that things are happening exactly the way they need to happen. And that's the chaos theory. So it's the same thing with manifesting. and manifestation and this goal process and creating an action plan is that you cannot reach the capital of another country unless you go through certain other hurdles, routes and cities to get there. So short term goals very important, medium term goals equally important, and long term goals equally important, all of them deriving out of each other. So you may have a situation where you may start with a short term goal which might lead to something bigger, and then lead to something bigger than that, and then divert back to something smaller and have smaller offshoots and tributaries. So it's a process in which you constantly are working upwards, downwards, and horizontally and vertically, so that you are seamlessly trying to join the dots together to achieve that. Absolutely, yes. And that's why they always say that start small, right? They say they have there are these catchphrases like catch them young, start small. Why is it that the best sports people or the best leaders are the ones who have been taught at a very young age? The reason is that they are open to learning at that time. And because they are open to learning, they don't have a fixed mindset. And because they don't have a fixed mindset, they are able to take on newer theories, newer possibilities, newer ideas, newer visions, and then create something magical out of that. So the momentum is very important for you to move forward, right? And therefore, moving from there to step 4 is that you therefore need to adjust your mindset. And that's the biggest challenge, if you ask me personally, for any person who's trying to work with LOA, manifestation, wiring your mind for a positive mindset. The biggest challenge is the mindset shift, the paradigm shift. Because, traditionally, you might not, absolutely, you might not agree with me, and that's fine. But traditionally, human beings are born with a very negative mindset. Traditionally, and even the environments in which we are allowed to function, we are always told what we can't do. If you look back at your childhood also, most of your mentoring by the so-called mentors at that time would be about what you should not do or what you cannot do. For example, if you were one of the first people in your family to want to start a business, the first advice or mentoring piece of information that would come to you is why you shouldn't get into business because of XYZ and ABC. It wouldn't be the other way around, where the particular mentor would say, no, you should get into business because that's what India needs. India needs more entrepreneurs, because if we have more entrepreneurs, then we have more people creating jobs. If we have more jobs getting created, then all those young, wonderful people, intelligent and dynamic people who are waiting for opportunities after achieving education in engineering or chartered accountancy or management will get those jobs. So that's how it works. So therefore, the mindset shift or the paradigm shift of your way you think is very important. And what is very critical is that you start with an attitude of gratitude. You think and focus on the things which give you joy, and you keep the right kind of company. This is one thing, young people, my friends, I always tell so many people who come to me for advice, I always say to them, please be particular about the company that you keep. You should keep company with people who edify you, who like you for who you are, who want to be around you, not because they can get something from you, but because they can add value to you. And so it's important for you to choose your friends, your the people whom you hang out with, or the people whom you spend your spare time with, very, very wisely. Because when you spend time with like-minded people, or with people who value you, or who want to be with you because of the fact that they like your company, or they're not looking for something to be taken from you, then you start actually reaching your potential. Because these are those game-changing kind of uh, people who give you the fuel that you need to think out of the box. And when you think out of the box, when you adjust, that's when you adjust your mindset. And when you adjust your mindset, when you make that paradigm shift, that's when you begin to achieve those things that you have listed down in step one and step two and step three. And that's when the manifestation begins to work, because you've been imbibing it, you've been thinking it, you've been practicing it to some extent, but now you're practicing it in the right kind of environment and company, and your mindset is working towards a gratitude mindset, which makes a lot of difference. I would encourage you, friends, if you can and you have the time, to start something what I call a gratitude journal. It doesn't take time. Every morning when you get up, you can write what you are grateful about. And believe me, at the end of the year, when you look back at that journal, you will realize that you have a lot to be grateful about and thankful about, contrary to what you might have been doing, or contrary to what people might have been telling you, saying that, life is tough, life is so hard. Life is tough for everyone. Look at what has happened in the last 2.5, 3 years. Today, I read a report somewhere that in Bangalore, the city where I live, people who send their children even for free education are not being able to do that because of the kind of lifestyle that has happened to them. So we all have tough times and we all have things to be thankful for. So it's important that you start working on that mindset shift. Yes, absolutely you can. I mean, it doesn't have to be something which is rocket science. It can be the most basic of things, Chirag. It doesn't necessarily have to be the grand plan where, you print money till you're 40 and then you retire. No, it could be something very simple as just meeting the right kind of people. I mean, as I said, if you want to keep the right kind of company, if you want to have the right kind of friends, you need to meet those people. And to meet those people, you need to have a plan. So you need to manifest that thought in your head that you will meet those people, and you need to work towards it. They won't just drop into your lap from somewhere. That's not how LOA works. Let's make that very clear. That's not how manifestation works. You might have been told this by many people that if you think positive, everything positive. No. What it means is that when you create the environment, that's when you work towards things happening, and that's when they happen. So there's a psychological part and a physical part to the process. Okay. And the last step, or the last part of the process, is to keep an open mind. Don't be like a horse with blinkers. Have you ever seen the horse who drives the cart? They put blinkers on their eyes. Do you know why? They want them to look only straight. They don't want them to have peripheral vision. So please be somebody who is not like that. Please be a person who has 360 vision. What that means is create an open mindset so that you are open to new things happening. You are open to manifestation, taking place. You are open to meeting new people. You are open to hearing new ideas. You are open to new possibilities. You are open to new dynamism. You are open to new vision. And when you do all this, everything else begins to fall in place. So one more tip I will give you before I wind up and ask you if you have any other questions is that you should also create the vision board. Now, the vision board is useful only when you look at it every day. It's not a board to be created, hung on the wall, and then looked at after 1 year. So to answer the question in the chat where you said that, I think Chirag said, my thoughts vanish. If you create a vision board and you hang it up somewhere where you can see it every day, your thoughts will never vanish because they'll be with you every second of the day. So this is the process in a nutshell of manifestation and how it can change your life. And believe me, it can change your life dynamically. I can share 1,001 examples from my life and the lives of many of my clients and friends where this has worked for them and worked very well. And it is only because they have believed in the process and worked the way I outlined it to you. If you do not do that, probably you won't see the results that you're hoping for. Any other questions? All right then. If there are no questions, thank you so much for your time. And I hope to see some of you for my next session. You're welcome, Nishant. Take care of yourselves. God bless. Have a good evening. Thank you, Nishan. Thank you.